Now, everyone agrees that the only way life will get back to normal is when there is a vaccine for COVID-19. And some good news on that front today. Human clinical trials for a potential vaccine are underway in Australia. We're joined by the principal investigator, Dr. Paul Griffin. He's in Brisbane. Thanks for your time tonight.
Pleasure.
So, Dr. Griffin, you're going to use healthy adults for this trial. What are you watching for?
So the main thing we look for in a phase 1 trial is to prove the safety we strongly expect from the data we've generated already to this point. And we also look to see if it's working by collecting some blood tests and doing some tests in the lab to see that these people have generated a good response to the vaccine, and look at all their immune cells to see that they're also primed against the vaccine as well.
So how many people are involved?
So 120 volunteers will participate in this study.
And what did you find when you did the lab testing of this vaccine?
So the preclinical data, the data in the laboratory and in animals was very positive. It looks very safe and generated a really good neutralizing antibody response. So we're very optimistic that this will translate into seeing a good effect in the human trials.
So let me ask you how hard it's been working under the intense kind of pressure there is really around the world as everyone waits for a vaccine.
Yeah, look, it's been challenging. We've never progressed vaccine development as fast as this, and we've never worked under so much pressure. But obviously, we know how important a vaccine for COVID-19 will be. So we've certainly been really motivated to keep working that hard. And it's really good to see that reward for effort now that the vaccine's made it into people in the clinic. And so we're really looking forward to seeing the results from the human trials.
What's been the biggest challenge for you so far?
Oh, there's been many. I think, developing a vaccine as quickly as this, and then I think, trying to move as quickly through all the usual steps. It usually takes 7 to 10 years to develop a vaccine, and we've had to do that in many months while not skipping any steps, obviously, to make sure we're as certain as ever about the safety and efficacy of this vaccine. So we've progressed really quickly, and now the human trials will also progress quickly, but as I say, without skipping any of the necessary steps to make sure it's safe and effective.
How have you been able to speed it up then?
What we've done is do a lot of steps simultaneously that we normally would do sequentially. And the main one really is already looking up the scaling of manufacturing. And usually that doesn't happen until we've got phase 3 data, which normally takes years. And that's already happening now. So once the trial data supports its use, we'll already have the capacity to manufacture millions of doses.
Okay, so let's get back to the human trial happening right now. How long will this phase take?
So the total study duration is around a year, but we'll constantly analyse the volunteers in this study. The first volunteers received the first vaccine yesterday. The rest of the 120 will receive the vaccine later in the week. There's a second vaccine, so we'll re-administer the vaccine in 28 days. And then hopefully in around 6 to 8 weeks, we'll have some preliminary data to once again show that it's both safe and effective.
Okay, so you mentioned it'll take about a year. Clearly, you might move on to the next step before that. When could that be, and what is that next step?
So the phase 2 study will commence as soon as the data from this phase 1 supports it, and that should hopefully be around 6 to 8 weeks from when the participants have received their second dose of the vaccine.
Wow, so things are moving very, very quickly. And tell me what the next phase involves.
So the phase 2 study is larger, so it'll be around 1,000 volunteers. And in that study, rather than just using laboratory tests to see if the vaccine's working, we start to also look to see if they've actually been protected from the virus. So that's where we'll really see if the vaccine's working.
Okay, obviously, Doctor, people want to know, when is this going to be available to me? How do you answer that question? I know it's not an easy one.
Yeah, the main thing I say is as soon as we can, basically. So we'll progress through the phases as quickly as possible, as soon as the data supports it. Scaling of manufacturing is already happening. So as soon as we have enough data to suggest it's both safe and effective, then we'll start to look at having vaccine available.